For many kids start kindy and in turn use their speaking skills to learn new things, ask many questions and make friends. And you may be asking yourself if your child is ready for this. So tell me, Mel, what are a few things that people can test with their 4-year-old? I'm using the word test again. What's things that we can try with our 4-year-old to see that they're, reaching their milestones?
Yeah. So look, parents don't need to test at home. They can get all the information they need just from observing what their kids are doing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no need to sort of sit down and tick off a list. But you can start to notice these few things, and that can help you go, no, we're good.
Yep.
Or, no, maybe we're not good, maybe we need some extra help.
Yes.
So, look, by 4, kids are talking so much. So much. And I guess that's one of the things that we notice sometimes when families come in, they don't necessarily have that comparison of what a sort of typical developing 4-year-old might sound like. So they don't always realise just how far behind their little one can be sometimes. So hopefully this helps to sort of give some perspective of what typical looks like, because 4-year-olds are using really long sentences. They are using joining words. They're using words like because and when and things like that in their sentence. So when we go to kindy, mummy, you say,
yep.
Do you know what I mean? So they're starting to use some of those sort of joining words to make their sentence really long with lots of important information and that kind of thing.
Yeah, they're very articulate, I find, at that age, and they're very demanding.
Yep.
And have lots to say.
Yep.
And they're often telling you the rules that you're breaking. And
So they're full of ideas around rules, let's play this, let's pretend this, suggestions on what they want to be doing, could be doing, should be doing.
What we should be having for dinner, how you should be cooking dinner, how you should be driving. That's another one I think 4-year-olds are good at.
And 4-year-olds is the question time as well. So if you are not being hounded, why in the car?
Yeah.
No.
So why are you driving in that lane? That sort of thing.
Yeah. So kids should be asking a big range of questions, and they should be able to answer a really big range of questions too. So they should be able to answer who questions, where questions, what questions, why questions, mostly, even if they don't quite get the reasoning right. They can kind of figure out the structure. So, well, why do you do this? And they say, because, and then they go off track a little bit because they haven't quite figured out what the reasoning is.
Yeah.
But they kind of know that that's how the structure works. Sounds-wise, they should be pretty much having almost all their sounds. There's still a few late developing ones that wouldn't be there yet, but it's about 90% be able to be understood by a stranger. So if you're having lots of people go, what are they saying? I don't really understand. And you feel like you're being an interpreter by 4, then that's a problem.
Okay.
There's a really strong link between kids with speech and language delay and literacy at school. And that kindy year is the year that we need to pick those problems up and address them before they hit school. So what the research says is if their speech is intelligible, meaning we can understand them, by the time they hit school, then they've got a much better success rate at literacy than if they head to school and their speech is unintelligible, meaning that we can't understand what they say. So that kindy year is really important to sort of pick up on any of those issues. And nicely, I guess we've got some activities and stuff that we can then put in place in that kindy year that help support that sound awareness for literacy as well. So their speech delay and their language delay can place them at risk of literacy, and it's often because they don't have that skill to sound out words. So if you think about a prep kid that's going cat,
yes.
Often our kids with speech and language delay can't do that, and it's that underlying sound system that's causing those problems. So we know that if we put some activities in place in that kindy year to teach them how to blend sounds together, how to pull sounds apart, then they have much better outcomes when they hit school as well. So kindy is a really important year. And sometimes you get parents going, I just thought I'd wait and see how they went at school.
Not a good idea.
Yeah, if we can get them in that kindy year, then they more than likely have a better outcome.
So if you're watching this right now and someone's just a little tiny bit worried, their mother intuition's kicking in, what do you say to them right now?
Look, I think particularly for the older ones, an assessment is worthwhile if you're concerned, if kindy teachers have expressed concern or that kind of thing. an assessment means that we can, particularly at this age, we can do more formal testing, and we've got an idea of exactly what a 4-year-old, how they perform on this particular test, and then how your child performs on that particular test. And there's room for error there in that, there's good days and bad days for some kids, but we get a fairly good idea of just what skills your kid has, what skills they're missing, and how that compares to other kids in that age group, and if there's a need to sort of do any ongoing work before they hit school.
It's much better to fix it now than later and they're behind.
Yeah. So particularly, I think, that literacy stuff is an important area for me. It's an area close to my heart. So I feel like if we can start these kids off at school in the right foot, in the right place, then we eliminate 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 years of hating school because they're not reading well, because they can't follow what's going on in the classroom. And it's just heartbreaking when sometimes we get kids that are coming to us at sort of grade 2, grade 3 for issues with literacy, and the case history is, they had a speech delay when they were little, they were late talkers and all this sort of stuff, and you go, oh.
If only you had come in earlier.
Yeah, and look, sometimes they do. So sometimes they have had therapy for the speech, but they've still got some ongoing issues with their literacy. So I don't want it to sound like it's a magic bullet and that, we can cure everything, because that's definitely not the case. But I guess it's that heartbreak of knowing that kid's run through school is going to be so much harder. And that, anything that I can do to sort of give them a better run through that year is what I'm passionate about. So.
Yeah, you certainly are. So how can a delay then, affect a child who is attending kindy?
Yeah, so look, I guess the effects at kindy are there in terms of social interactions and getting their needs met and that kind of stuff. I guess we've covered the longer term kind of effects is probably the bit that concerns me more. So often kindies are pretty good at adjusting things for all sorts of kids. I think the kids who potentially are struggling more with social interaction and playing with other children are going to have a bigger impact in kindy, because kindy gets much more structured. So in the early years of childcare, it's pretty much free play, go pick what you want, you're good, come sit on the mat just for a little bit. But kindy, they start to want to do more structure. We're doing painting now. We're going to do some letters now. We're going to sit on the mat now. And so those kids who aren't doing well from that sort of social point of view struggle with a little bit more. And that's when sometimes those concerns reveal themselves for the first time, because suddenly this child's expected to participate, follow instructions, participate, be part of the group, and that's just not happening. But I guess most kids with speech and language will go okay at kindy. It's more the what happens when they hit school. That's probably the bigger concern.
So interesting. So if your child is struggling to express themselves or struggling to be understood at kindy, it's certainly time to get the issue looked at. So the amazing team at Coastal Kids Speech Pathology can certainly help you out, so give them a call today.